When I was in my mid-30s, I was a dink. Double income, no kids. I was married to a woman who was older than me, and we both had good jobs, and really no responsibilities outside of work. We lived in a Manhattan high-rise, 32nd floor with a view of the East River, the UN, the 59th Street Bridge. We could walk anywhere we wanted to go, pretty much, and if it was more convenient, we took a cab. Every once in a great while, we rented a car to get away out of the city on a weekend and drove the car back, didn't even have to change the oil. It was an easy life. And then a tragedy hit my family that left me needing to change that, feeling very strongly that I had to change that. My uncle and aunt were murdered. They were shot to death by my cousin, their son. We had been playmates as kids, and when he got to his early 20s or so, the symptoms came out of paranoid schizophrenia. So now that we were in our 30s, he shot his parents to death. And with that one act, I lost my uncle, I lost my aunt, and I lost my cousin, whom I had played with as a kid. And that hit me especially hard because he was the second of my childhood playmates who would be spending the rest of his life in state institutions. Barry, the boy who did this, of course, would be in either state prisons or state mental hospitals. The other boy that I played with in the family when we were young, his symptoms came out much earlier, a very severe mental illness, and he'd been in institutions since the age of 12. So I had survivor syndrome. Why do I get to lead such a free and easy life when both of them are going to be institutionalized for their lives? I have to do something. I have to justify my existence. I have to make it right that I'm okay. And I have to contribute to the world. This kind of very hedonistic existence, I felt, had to stop. And the woman I was married to understood that, but as I say, she was older. She wasn't ready to start over again, so we had an amicable divorce. And I went to live in a much more modest apartment in Queens. Took the subway to work. And eventually, and I was looking for a mission, a way to make the world better. And eventually I linked up with a bunch of guys who were also looking for a mission. They wanted to do some community service, and I convinced them that Creedmoor State Psychiatric Hospital needed our help. Creedmoor in Queens is everybody, or was at the time, everybody's nightmare of a state mental institution. 600 acres of row after row after row of limestone and brick buildings, cold, overwhelmed, understaffed. And we went to the volunteer coordinator, and they found us a couple of wards to spend time with. Inmates who were functional enough to be able to appreciate a visit from the outside, but who never got any visits. These are people that no one cared about, and no one ever came and brought treats, a little cake, chips, soda, music. So we would come and we would do parties for these couple of wards, and you know, it was great fun for us because we could be as crazy as we wanted to be. No one would notice. Except for one of us. There was one fellow who struggled with it because he kept having to fight off one woman who wanted to give him a blowjob. But the rest of us liked it. And we also took on an adult home. There was an adult home just outside of Creedmoor that also needed help. And when I say adult home, I know that sounds very warm and fuzzy. This was anything but. It was just another limestone building, only it was outside the gates of Creedmoor. And it had a couple of hundred residents who were not sick enough to justify remaining in Creedmoor, but couldn't make it on their own and had no one to care for them. It was a halfway house to nowhere. And so we would go there on holidays, especially Christmas morning. And on Christmas morning, we'd bring our wives and our girlfriends, and every child we could find, every child we could talk into coming with us. And we'd go there and we'd go through the halls to draw people out. Many of them didn't like leaving their rooms, but we would sing and make a fuss and try to get them out to join us all in the dining room. And in the dining room, we'd have these little wrapped packages that we would give away, and packages wrapped in Christmas paper. And there were pairs of socks, just wrapped in Christmas paper. No big deal, but it was something to give them. And we'd go through and we'd hand them out to everybody. And about the third or fourth year I was doing this, and I was supervising some kids who were giving out the socks, and I was feeling a little bit like, we've been doing this for years, and yeah, it's kind of nice, but we're not really changing anything. These people are still here. We see the same people year after year. But I'm watching the kids hand out the socks, and all of a sudden there was this one older woman who got a pair of socks. She was about 80 or so, and she caught my eye, and she motioned me over, and I went over to her, and through gestures, I guess she was mute, but through gestures, she showed me that she wanted to trade her package for one of mine. Hey, they're all socks wrapped in Christmas paper. No harm, no foul. Sure, she hadn't opened it, so I traded with her. I thought it was all kind of silly, but I traded it with her, and I went on my way, and I glanced back, and I realized what the difference was. The package that I had given her had a ribbon on it. The one that she'd gotten first did not. And she had taken the ribbon and put it in her hair, and she was beaming. Her face just brightened up. And she gave me a big gift that morning. She showed me that sometimes things so small that I don't even notice them can make a world of difference to somebody else. So maybe I don't need to do something big to change the world and justify my existence.